Well, thank you, Vivian, and also thanks to Ambassador Stevens and President Byrne for the invitation here tonight. I have to ask for an extra minute because of the stirring tribute to Colin Powell that we heard earlier, and I'd like to add my own little bit to that. Colin Powell obviously was a four-star general, and I would just say that many of our senior military leaders, for good reason, had lots of issues to raise with Iran. Not mentioned in the introduction, I think many of you know I was pretty heavily involved in the Iran negotiation, the Iran deal, and what I want to say is that Colin Powell was the first among what became a number of very senior flag officers to say that despite their own personal issues with Iran's behavior in certain arenas, that they had to think strategically and just plain said thank you for advancing the Iran agreement as something that was in the best interest of everyone and saved American lives, frankly. So Colin had a very special place as well to those of us who were involved in those security issues as someone who always had just a level head and tried to take consistently the strategic view. So I apologize for that aside, but I thought it would perhaps be helpful in this context. I want to, of course, offer congratulations to the Korea Society for this celebration of U.S. Korea friendship, governmental cooperation, and deep business relationships. And of course, congratulations to the awardees, LG and GM, who exemplify this relationship so well as they pioneer an important part of the clean energy transition, the move to electric vehicles. But I have to say, I can't resist saying that I appreciate other LG products as well. It was brought home last night when I arrived in my DC residence, and on the LG TV could see my beloved Boston Red Sox thrashing Houston in the playoffs, of course, following the dispatch of 2 weeks ago of the hated New York Yankees. I say that in New York City, so anyway, but more important is the clean energy transition as we stand at the threshold of the Glasgow meeting, where greenhouse gas emission reduction must be addressed with much more urgency and ambition than we have seen to date. Here again, our two countries are on the same page. When one corrects for years, both of our countries are committing to approximately 40% emissions reduction over this decade. And hopefully we can learn and innovate together to meet this very, very challenging goal. To reach that goal, electricity decarbonization must continue to lead, as it has in this country for between 1 and 2 decades for sure. We then have a climate advantage in electrifying other parts of the economy, and that's where GM and LG come in with their leadership in moving to electric vehicles and building the supply chain for batteries at a much bigger scale than we see today. And in addition, building a robust supply chain in the United States, adding resilience. We have seen the consequences of overextended supply chains, both with COVID and with the challenges we see today in trade logistics emerging from the economic recovery. all those container ships sitting outside of our ports. So this is really, this move in advancing robustly electric vehicles, advancing the battery supply chain, having a major domestic U.S. component in the service of resilience. This is great news for the economy and for the planet. And I again thank LG and GM for their contributions, and the Korea Society for recognizing those contributions and for promoting U.S. Korea friendship and cooperation. Thank you.